Apple, the company that refused to die. A garage, a dream, and almost no money. In 1976, personal computers were not part of everyday life. Computers were huge machines used by governments, universities, and large corporations. Most people believed computers were too complicated for ordinary individuals. But two young men in California saw a different future. One was Steve Wozniak, a brilliant engineer who loved building electronic devices. The other was Steve Jobs, a visionary who believed technology could change the world. Neither of them came from a wealthy background. They did not have a fancy office, a large team, or millions of dollars in funding. What they had was a dream. To raise money for their new venture, Wozniak sold his prized scientific calculator, and Jobs sold his Volkswagen van. The money they raised was small, but it was enough to get started. Their workplace was a garage in Jobs' parents' home. Many of the world's biggest companies started with large investments and extensive resources. Apple started with a garage, a few tools, and two young men who believed in an idea that most people ignored. The first big risk that could have destroyed everything. Soon after founding Apple, Steve Jobs approached a local computer retailer called the Byte Shop. The owner agreed to buy 50 computers. This sounded like wonderful news. But there was a huge problem. Apple did not have enough money to build even those 50 computers. Many people would have walked away. Jobs chose a different path. He convinced suppliers to provide computer parts on credit, promising that Apple would pay them after the computers were delivered. If Apple failed, the company would collapse before it even truly began. The founders worked tirelessly, assembling computers day and night. They delivered the order successfully. The customer paid. Apple survived. One lesson from this moment is simple. Sometimes growth begins when you take responsibility for opportunities that seem bigger than your current abilities. The product that changed everything. In 1977, Apple introduced the Apple II. Most computers at the time were complicated and intimidating. The Apple II was different. It was easier to use, more attractive, and designed for ordinary people. The market responded immediately. Schools bought it, businesses bought it, families bought it, sales grew rapidly. What had started in a garage was becoming a real company. The founders had proven something important. People often do not know they need something until someone creates it. Overnight success that took years to build. By 1980, Apple had become one of the fastest growing companies in America. The company went public on the stock market. The event created hundreds of employee millionaires. Steve Jobs was only 25 years old. To the outside world, Apple looked like an overnight success. But the reality was different. Behind every headline were years of uncertainty, sleepless nights, technical failures, and financial risks. Success looked sudden. The preparation took years. The founder who was fired. Most people assume that once a founder builds a successful company, their future is secure. Steve Jobs learned otherwise. As Apple grew larger, disagreements emerged between Jobs and company leadership. Conflicts intensified. In 1985, Apple's board sided against Jobs. The man who had built Apple lost control of the company. Eventually, he left. Imagine creating something from nothing and then being forced to walk away from it. Many people would have become bitter. Many would have quit. Many would have spent the rest of their lives talking about what might have been. Jobs chose another path, turning defeat into a new beginning. After leaving Apple, Jobs started a new company called Next. At the same time, he purchased a small graphics division from Lucasfilm. That company later became Pixar. For years, Apple struggled while Jobs worked elsewhere. Next developed advanced technology. Pixar went on to create groundbreaking animated films. The period that seemed like a failure was actually preparing Jobs for his greatest comeback. One of the most powerful truths in business and life is this: What appears to be a setback today may become your greatest advantage tomorrow. Apple's darkest hour. During the 1990s, Apple entered a dangerous decline. The company released too many products. Customers became confused. Competitors gained market share. Profits disappeared. Losses increased. Many experts believed Apple was heading toward bankruptcy. Investors lost confidence. Employees worried about the future. The company that had once revolutionized personal computing was now fighting for survival. Many experts believed Apple was heading toward bankruptcy. Investors lost confidence. Employees worried about the future. The company that had once revolutionized personal computing was now fighting for survival. Very few people believed Apple could recover. The return that changed business history. In 1997, Apple acquired Next. As part of the deal, Steve Jobs returned. When he looked at the company, he saw confusion everywhere. Too many products, too many priorities, too little focus. Jobs made difficult decisions. He canceled projects. He simplified product lines. He reduced complexity. Many people criticized these actions. But Jobs understood something fundamental. Great companies do not succeed by doing everything. They succeed by doing a few important things exceptionally well. Focus became Apple's superpower. The courage to think differently. In 1998, Apple introduced the iMac. Unlike the dull computers sold by competitors, the iMac was colorful, elegant, and easy to use. Customers loved it. Sales improved dramatically. For the first time in years, Apple looked alive again. The lesson was not about computer design. It was about courage. When everyone else follows the same path, growth often belongs to those willing to think differently. The product experts said would fail. In 2001, Apple launched the iPod. Many people questioned the decision. Apple was a computer company. Why enter the music business? The market already had music players. Critics predicted failure. Jobs ignored the noise. He focused on creating a better experience for customers. The iPod became a massive success. Millions of people who had never owned an Apple product suddenly became Apple customers. One successful product opened the door to an entirely new future. The device that changed the world. In January 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced a product that would redefine modern technology. The iPhone. At the time, most mobile phones had physical keyboards and limited internet capabilities. Jobs demonstrated a touchscreen device that combined communication, music, photography, and internet access into one product. Many competitors dismissed it. Some executives laughed at the idea. History would prove them wrong. The iPhone became one of the most successful products ever created. Entire industries were transformed. New industries emerged. The smartphone era had begun. From near bankruptcy to one of the world's most valuable companies. The most remarkable part of Apple's story is not that it became successful. The remarkable part is that it nearly failed. The company experienced financial struggles, leadership conflicts, product failures, public criticism, near bankruptcy, the loss of its founder. Yet it survived. Not because it was lucky, because it continued adapting, because it kept innovating, because it refused to give up. Today, Apple is one of the most valuable companies in the world, serving billions of customers across the globe. But its greatest achievement is not its size. Its greatest achievement is proving that even after devastating setbacks, extraordinary comebacks are possible. Lessons from Apple's journey. 1. Start before you feel ready. Apple began in a garage with limited resources. Perfect conditions never arrived. 2. Take calculated risks. The founders accepted orders they were not fully prepared to fulfill and then worked relentlessly to make them happen. 3. Failure is not final. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he created, yet that failure became the foundation of his comeback. 4. Focus creates power. Apple's turnaround began when it stopped trying to do everything and concentrated on a few important priorities. 5. Innovation wins long-term. The companies that shape the future are often those willing to challenge the present. 6. Persistence matters more than talent alone. Many talented people quit after setbacks. Apple's story shows the power of continuing when success seems impossible. Final thought. Apple's story is not really about computers, phones, or technology. It is about belief. Belief in an idea when nobody else sees it. Belief in yourself when others doubt you. Belief that failure is not the end of the journey. Company that started in a garage, lost its founder, nearly went bankrupt, and was written off by experts became one of the most influential businesses in human history. That is why Apple's journey remains one of the most inspiring growth stories ever told.